Welcome to Lessons and Blessings. I'm Sarah Como. I'm with Spiritual Tides. I'm a psychic medium, an animal communicator, and I also dabble in a few other things besides that. And Miss Amber?
I'm Amber of Amber and Amethyst. I am also a psychic medium. I specialize in Reiki, healing, past life regression, lots of things there too. But today we are going to be talking about tarot and oracle cards. Sarah, do you want to take that? Because you're the one who taught me how to do cards, so you're the real professional here.
Thank you, Amber. So oracle cards and tarot cards are really, really cool tools to use, especially if you're just starting out with your gifts, because it's a physical medium in a way, play on words, to use to figure out different messages for yourself and for others. And when I first started out, I started with a tarot deck, and tarot is a little different than oracle cards. And but we want to discuss, because we've talked in a previous video about one of our favorite decks of oracle cards to use, and that's the Past Life deck, which Amber is holding up right now.
I'll flash it up big on the screen.
Yeah, it's an awesome deck. It's if you don't know how to do past life regressions through meditation or hypnosis, this is a great deck to use just to get the information started, the messages started. There's a variety of places in that deck. There's a variety of things that you were before. So it's a really, really fun deck to use so that you can understand a little bit more about your past life. Anything else you want to say about the Past Life deck, Amber?
Fun fact, there's a card in that deck called Lessons and Blessings, and that's where we got our name from. So just tying it all together there, but that's our favorite card. It really kind of hits home for a lot of people. I mean, it's kind of fairly generic. I mean, it could go with anybody, but it tends to match up with certain cards to give more emphasis on like certain meanings of things. And really great card.
Yes.
Just saying.
Really great card. And so there are a ton of oracle cards and tarot card decks out there. I mean, tons. I mean, we run into them all the time. Lots of varieties of different things. The main thing that we want you to know is that it's really important to pick out a deck that calls to you. So especially when you're working with a tarot card deck, that one is really significant, because it's, if you don't pick out the right cards, and this goes for crystals, pendulums, anything like that, if it doesn't call to you, if it doesn't work for you, it will not work for you. The cards will not lay out correctly. You have to be able to have a deck that makes sense to you. And the first deck that I ever picked out for myself for my tarot card deck was the Llewellyn Celtic deck, and this is the book that comes with it, but they're the cards. I have all right here, and it was very significant to me. I have Irish heritage, if you couldn't tell with the freckles, and it really calls to me. So, and the back of the card is just really classy. It's brown. It's just very, very elegant. And there's a dragon on the inside. That is actually my Chinese zodiac symbol. So, I mean, the dragon calls to me. And most of the cards have water in the picture itself. So water is also my element, and I love it. So you just have to find a deck that calls to you in every way, and then you'll be able to use it really well. So Amber, what calls to you? What's your favorite deck besides the Past Life?
Honestly, the healing deck. It's the Archangel Raphael healing cards. It's not very popular in my business because people want to know about other things like past lives and life purpose and like my romance deck and everything. But this was one of the decks that really called to me. Using this deck and doing a healing reading is actually how I did my first reading without actually using any cards, and it was all intuition. So just using the cards really helped me grow in my own abilities to be able to read without cards. Using cards in general is just a really good way to grow your abilities, because you have something there to go off of.
Right.
And you don't have to do everything yourself. It's a little bit lower energy. You don't need to put as much into it. Kind of a crutch there, but I mean, even as advanced as we are, I mean, it's still nice to just have cards sometimes. And the thing I like about oracle cards in general is they're more specific than tarot cards. So they have all the different genres, like the past lives and the healing, and the one that you just were talking about too. So they're better for like more specific questions about certain topics. Whereas tarot cards, they're a little bit more general, but you can do different layouts. And I can flash a couple of those up, but one of the most common ones that I do is a 3-card pull where it's past, present, and future based on a certain question. So you just lay out 3 cards, and it basically tells a story about your question, and leaving the rest up to interpretation. But that's kind of the biggest difference between oracles and tarot cards. But personally, I gravitate more towards the oracle cards.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because oracle cards, you're right, they do all have their own individual themes, and they do have very specific messages in them. I really do. That's why I have so many decks of those. And the tarot, they're great. Like you said, they have those layouts, and the tarot is, they're the typical cards that mediums and psychics use to generate what path you're going to be on, what's going on in your life, just as validation, and also to show you a little bit into the future. And the thing to remember with using tarot cards is that these things that you're going to see, these messages, they're predicting the future as the way you are in the path that you're in now. It all can change. It's really up to our decisions. It's based on free will. So what you see in this deck, as long as everything aligns with what the message aligns with what it is, and the future outcome will happen as long as you follow that path. And that's kind of how most tarot readings go. And it's like Amber said, the oracle cards, you can just pull out a couple cards, ones that call to you. It could be one card, it could be several that just come up, and they have a message that you need to hear at that time. So one deck that I started using when I first started out as a medium was this Talking to Heaven deck, and it's a mediumship deck. So what I did, because I was still a little nervous when I started getting started with the whole mediumship reading, whereas I would use these, I would pull out a card, for someone, and I will always point you in the right direction. That's what this card says. So like I would pull that out, and I would say that this is part of, what your loved ones are saying to you right now. And then it would help me, like Amber said earlier, it would help me to expand on that. So that's why these are really great. It's great for you to use for yourself to see how things are going in your life. And also just to, if you're trying to do this for someone else, it's just a nice physical tool to use in order to figure out your next message. Like I said, it's really helpful to me to start that if I'm a little nervous, or if it's really loud somewhere. And sometimes, right now I'm very skilled enough that I can just blurt out messages from spirit, but they sometimes they say, okay, I want you to go to that Archangel Raphael deck and pull out that top card or whatever. And sometimes that specific message is needed to be heard, and then I just start expanding on it. So they're all really, really cool.
Is the Rider-Waite deck. It's got very recognizable artwork. It's been around for centuries, I want to say, this specific artwork, but very popular. You'll find books on it everywhere, because a lot of times when you get just a regular tarot deck, there isn't like a booklet to go with it to tell you the meanings of the cards, and you need to buy an additional book. Or the book that they send with you is like all of 10 pages, and it's got one word to describe the card, which is like, well, there's a word on the card, the star. Like,
yeah.
What does that even mean? So all the oracle decks actually have a book that goes with it. So you don't need to like learn or memorize anything anytime you do a reading. There's that booklet and that information in there for you to interpret it. So you don't have to just look at this card that says, I'll always help you on your path. Obviously you can kind of interpret what that meaning is, but there's going to be a lot of other information to kind of expand upon that. Whereas tarot, you get a deck, not always a book. So I would suggest, if if you're going to do tarot, get a good book to go with it. I'll put a couple in the links. I've worked with a few, but, you know, flash those up. But if you're kind of scared of tarot, because, I mean, there's some harsh cards in there, like the devil card sounds really terrifying. The death card sounds really terrifying. And in truth, those aren't as bad as, say, the Tower. That's a really nasty card. Yeah. But they do make other decks. Doreen Virtue, again, we're always going to have Doreen Virtue stuff. Yes, she has different themed tarot cards, which have lighter pictures on them. They still have kind of the same meanings, but they don't look as scary and feel as scary. And those are a lot better for beginners instead of like, you know, you're doing a reading for somebody else and there's the death card. It's like, am I gonna die? Yeah. The answer is no.
Death is so.
That's not what that means.
Right. Death is so. You know, it's rebirth. It's a new beginning.
Exactly.
So don't be.
Yes.
Don't be.
But yeah, so her tarot decks actually come with full books, which are nice. Gives a good description of everything. And I mean, all of her stuff is so beautiful. I mean, you see like the silver on the edges of these, and the artwork is just so fancy. Like, she's got an animal one too, so if you're big into animals, like both of us are, I do a lot with like the animal totem stuff, and it's nice. Yeah. We all have different animal ones. Yeah. There's so many different card decks to choose from, and you don't have to just go off the ones that we have. Obviously, go with what calls to you, but there are some that are more popular. Like with my business, the card readings that I do, people tend to gravitate towards the past life, this life purpose deck that I have. People want to know what they have to do.
I love that deck. I love it.
Yep, and also like the romance deck, because everybody wants to know, when am I gonna get married? So, I mean, there's just so many topics that Oracle and Tarot can help you expand upon and learn about yourself. Really nice if you're just starting out with your abilities too.
Right.
That said, a lot of topics or a lot of things can come in card form. I'm sure everybody's kind of heard of like Nordic runes and stuff where you'd like toss the bones or the crystals and they have the marks. I actually, on a recent trip to Iceland, got a card deck, which is runes. So instead of like throwing rocks around and trying to read what they say, I have to have a book for that. But these runic cards might make it a little bit easier for somebody who's, you know, maybe doesn't have some rocks or some bones with some markings on them. But it looks like a little book too. Yeah. But we can do a whole other thing on runes too. But I mean, you'll see stuff, you know, other oracles that come in card form that aren't typically, you know, supposed to be in card form. But lots of options when it comes to tarot. Should we do a couple like shuffles and just kind of show them how to like shuffle the difference between like an oracle deck and a tarot deck?
Yeah, absolutely. And while we're getting that started, we'll just discuss real quick. If you're wondering where to find tarot or oracle cards, they are going to be in your local metaphysical shops. You know, shops that have crystals and just a very spiritual shop that. You'll have that. You can also find them online. If you do find your decks online, my advice to you is to get ones, or when you buy them, first of all, like we said, pick ones that call to you. Usually they'll have at least the outside of the deck, picture, and some if you're lucky, they'll show you some of the specific cards on the inside. If they call to you that way, that's a good way to know. But also, before you click that order, you say, you just send a little prayer or positive thought into the universe, and you say, please send me the deck that is meant for me. So then that way you know that the one that the warehouse worker picks out to send your way is the one that you're meant to have. I know it sounds kind of goofy, but for really you need to have a deck that calls to you, that will work for you. And as she continues to shuffle, I'll tell you one more thing. And there's usually instructions with every deck, but anytime you get a brand new deck, like I just got this Archangel Animal deck that I love, you always hold the deck in your hand, knock on it to consecrate it, and you hold it in your non-dominant hand, your receiving hand, right, Amber? Your receiving hand. And then you knock on it with your dominant hand. And that's to break away any of the negative energy, any stagnant energy that might be on it, like sitting in the warehouse in a warehouse that just, warehouses can have a lot of stagnant energy. So you don't want that on your cards. And then when you open them up, you want to touch every single card in the deck. You want to touch them all because you're putting your energy into these cards. That's how they're going to work for you. Amber, you have anything else to add to that?
That's all in the books that comes with these oracle cards. And we do it every time, maybe not every time we work with the cards, but we share cards sometimes. We meet up and we do readings for each other, and every time we use somebody else's deck, we reset it, get their energy out,
Perfect.
Put ours in by touching all the cards. And that's kind of how you do readings with each other's cards. I mean, they're not specific to one person, but once your energy is in one, it's going to work better for you than somebody else.
I agree.
But there's different ways that different decks like to be used. A lot of oracle decks, in the books, there's instructions, but generally all you do is you'll shuffle them just like regular cards. That was a really bad shuffle, of course, somebody's watching. And you'll find it very hard to get used to at first because they are so much larger than traditional playing cards. But you'll notice as you're shuffling, and if you can kind of bridge them up, you'll notice there's like cards that stick out farther than others. Those are the ones that you'll want to draw out for your reading. And you'll just want to keep going. And granted, I didn't really ask a question. I'm just trying to get cards to pop out. But you see how this one kind of came out like that? We'd pull that for the reading. If you get 2 at a time, that's great. If they fall on the floor, even better.
Yep.
But once you're called to stop, it's at that point where you can flip them over and start your reading. Big cards, they're all kind of over the place. So then I would do a reading with these 3 cards. Oracle cards are great because they give you as many as you need for the message to get across. Sometimes I find I'll only draw 1. And at that point, it's like, oh my gosh, like I feel so bad you don't get like a whole lot of information on this. But when that happens, generally they want to, like the message that the angels want to portray is very narrow, and it's like, you need to focus on this. Don't worry about anything else. Like when you fix this, everything else will fall into place.
Right. So
they don't want to expand it too much to where you lose sight of your task, basically. And others, they'll have like 7 cards, and if it's a past life deck, there'll be like 3 or 4 lifetimes in there. It's like, oh, that's crazy. But I mean, it's really exciting for like the person getting the reading, or even myself if I'm doing it for myself. So that's the oracle cards. No really specific amount that you're supposed to draw. It's just kind of whatever comes up for the question at hand.
And when
tarot is.
Sorry, when you say that you get the message to stop, for those viewers out there that don't really understand what that means, you're listening to your intuition, your gut. Whenever we do it, we literally hear like in our thoughts, okay, that's enough, or no more, or pick 1 more out, something like that. Who that is your guardian angels, your loved ones, anybody who's around you that walks in the white light in the universe. They are around you, and they're telling you that so that you can stop when you need to. Go ahead, Amber.
All right. Another way that oracle cards like to be utilized is the messy method, as I kind of like to call it, where you just put them all over your table and spread them out so you can see the top of every card. And then you would just either close your eyes or just kind of get really in tune with the deck and feel where the card is that you need to draw. And if your hand dips down or you start feeling cold or heat or anything, using your non-dominant hand is best. That's the one for receiving messages. But then you would just feel that card. And if they're kind of layered over the top of each other, if you just put your finger down, and if the card moves as you're doing it, then that would be one that you pick up. If it doesn't move at all, try moving a few inches over to a different card, and if that one moves, that would be the one that you would draw. So that this method isn't as popular as just like the regular shuffle one, because it's kind of messy, and I tend to avoid this deck because of that. I mean, it's a great deck, the Sacred Traveler. It's just got a lot of general messages for your day. It's a good one to, like, you know, draw one for an inspirational message, like answering the call. The time is now, so it's like, do the thing now.
Yeah.
A lot of great messages in here, but a little bit more complicated and in-depth shuffle with that one. And then we get into traditional tarot, which I'm sure most people have kind of seen, where you would shuffle them like normal cards. You know, you can either do this thing if they're kind of awkward for you. Yeah, and then we have a layout there. So you would shuffle them, and if you're doing a reading for somebody else, you would have them split the deck, and then that bottom part you would put on top. And for splitting the deck, you kind of want to let it fall. So you'd pick it up in an area, and wherever the cards kind of split is where you would let it cut. And then put them on top of each other. And then, you know, as you're shuffling, you'll be thinking of the question, or the person you're reading will be thinking of the question. You'll pick a specific layout. So if you just want to pop one of those up.
Here's the Celtic cross. It's very popular.
Oh man, the Celtic cross. Really.
Yeah, it's very popular, and it's very in depth. It takes a long time to do this reading. There's 10 cards.
Yeah. So then you would draw 10 cards to match that layout, and I'll just start. And they're not even going to be in the right order, but you would just draw them straight off the top, and then do the reading as is. With that, so you know, you'd pick up your first card, read that as pertains to whatever the message is, and then you would keep going. When I do the Celtic cross, I have a piece of paper next to me, and I write down everything, because it's hard to keep track of with 10 cards like that. And it's not like, you know, the 3-card past, present, future, where it's easy to remember that, oh, the one to your left is the past card, and the middle one is the immediate situation. I mean, these are like, this is a person who is influencing the situation at hand, blah, blah, blah. I mean,
and it is like she said, it's super, super hard to kind of keep track of, because you're reading the meanings of the card, but you're also reading the meanings of the position. So like in this deck, in this book, it has position 1. This is the meaning of that. So when I do readings for people with this, I will say, okay, here's what the position means. Here's now what the card means. And then you go through and you find what the card is going to mean in there. So
overall, cards are really good for when you're getting started. Tons of different options out there. Get what resonates with you. I mean, we just have, you know, cracked the surface of what is out there for cards and everything. Anything else you'd like to add to?
Well, I was just going to say, anybody who, if you have a favorite deck, drop a comment down below the video and let us know what your favorite deck is. You know, we've shown you a little about what we like, the Ascended Masters. I love working with this deck. Archangel Michael, he always has really great messages to give. So just let us know what your favorite decks are. We're really curious, because we love to find new ones too. And so, and if you have any questions, please let us know that also, and we'll be happy to help.
Yeah, and now that we're going to have this video out, I plan on doing reviews on individual card decks, just like I plan on doing book reviews. Cards fall right into that, so I'll actually be getting more specific on different Oracle card decks. Maybe even throw a how-to video out there of how to do the Celtic cross.
Yeah.
We'll see how that one goes. But yeah, we'll have tons more information out there, and definitely drop what you like in the comments, or any questions that you have for us.
Right.
So
we want to thank you so much for watching today. I know this video is a little long, but we hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you have a great day. And again, thanks for watching.